So the inspiration behind the name, the Harebrained Press, really comes from William Blake, the poet, visionary and artist who is a great influence for me. He said, if a fool would persist in his folly, he would become wise. And for me, that really resonated with what I was doing in the Harebrained Press project. I knew that it was an undertaking that was quite foolish in some ways. I knew it would be difficult. I didn't know it would be almost impossible. But we managed to pull everything together and to create a book. In 2016, I decided that I wanted to offer my stories as a collection here in Australia, and these stories had been formally published overseas, mainly in the US and Canada, but I wanted to put them together and offer them here. The main thing that was important to me in self-publishing was that I wanted to offer these stories in a medium that reflected the spirit of the stories, and I wanted to do it my way. So these stories had been described by publishers as being, having a poetic quality, being beautifully written. So I thought, well, I really want to offer these stories in a beautiful medium, and what's the most beautiful way I could do it. And I thought, well, that would be to create it completely by hand. I started out at the Melbourne Museum of Printing with a workshop that they were offering called The Roots of Printing, and it took me about 12 hours to put together and print a poster. And I thought, oh my goodness, what have I got myself into? But I had committed to the project by then. I'd told too many people, so I decided to forge ahead. And I printed pages 1 to 12 at the Melbourne Museum of Printing before I decided that travelling to Melbourne every 2 weeks and printing for 12 hours a day over 2 days was unsustainable, and I'd need to find a studio closer to home. I found HipCat Printery, which is located just outside of Trentham, and Lawrence Finn has a beautiful studio there with a wonderful German printing press called an Aspern. My new routine was to spend about 20 hours a fortnight setting type. So I'd set 8 pages at a time, and I'd put them into 2 printing forms, and then over a weekend I'd travel about 260 kilometres to and from the printery and print 160 copies of 8 pages over that time. Then I'd then take the type and redistribute it into the case and then set it again into the next 8 pages. I managed to print pages 13 through to 105, but it was difficult for me travelling in the early mornings and the late evenings, especially during the winter months, because it's quite a treacherous drive. So I made the difficult decision that I would need to actually source my own printing press and set up at home if I was to continue and finish the book.